Hey guys, so in this video, I want to talk to you why I hope and pray Bernie Sanders becomes the DNC nominee. And look, you don't have to agree with me. In fact, you could very well put down in the comments below why you want your candidate to win and why. But in this video, I want to stress my reasoning why I want Bernie to be the DNC nominee. I have a pre-existing condition. It's not life-threatening. Thank my lucky stars, it's not. But there are other people who have pre-existing conditions that are life-threatening, and currently someone with diabetes, for example, has to pay up to $700 up the wazoo out of their pocket because their insurance won't pay for it, or if their insurance does pay for it, it's a tiny fraction of the payment. And the rest that they have to pay out of pocket is still up the wazoo, more than a house mortgage, monthly, or even yearly at that. So part of the reason why I support Bernie Sanders is because of Medicare for all. Medicare for all. There are people now who are on state Medicare, like me for example, who are lucky enough that their health insurance covers, something like Remicade, or covers eyeglasses. But there are others who have state insurances that may not cover Remicade, that may not cover eyeglasses, that may not cover a surgery price. And those people, even though they have state-covered insurance, they might get dental covered, they might get a doctor's visit covered, but they may not get their medicine covered. And that could very well happen to someone like me who's fortunate enough to have insurance that covers medicine, that covers stuff like that. It could very well happen 6 years from now that I may get a letter from my health insurance saying my Remicade treatment is not covered. And I can't get treatments then because I don't have $8,000+ in my bank account to pay for it out of pocket. Me and plenty of other people who have Crohn's disease would not be able to afford it. And plenty of people who have diabetes would not be able to afford their insulin. Point being is that when I hear a conservative Republican on television or on SiriusXM or a conservative Democrat talk about how it's not feasible for Medicare for all, but yet it's feasible to keep increasing the military budget without asking the same question, how are you going to pay for it? It makes me mad. It genuinely makes me mad. And it's incomprehensible to me that how that thought process even exists. We could afford the military, but we can't afford healthcare as a right? If citizenship is a birthright in this country, if you're born in this country, by definition, you're an American citizen. Okay? So wouldn't it make sense just as much when you're born in this country that you get health care too? And sure, you have your choice of health care. You do. Even if we have a Medicare for all, like Canada does, even Canadians have their choice of health care. Shouldn't Americans have health care as a right too? And Bernie Sanders is one of the reasons why, once again, I'm excited to vote for a Democrat. Because Bernie Sanders has been consistent for 30 plus years that America should adopt Medicare for all. He's been saying that since the 80s, since he was mayor of Vermont. And because of Bernie Sanders, they do have somewhat of an insurance medically where it's like Medicare for all. Point being is that when I see somebody like Pete Buttigieg on the Democratic side say that Medicare for all, if you want it, which is practically everybody. When Bernie Sanders did a Fox News town hall last year, you could find the two parts on Fox News' YouTube page. He said, it's like let's do a miniature tally here. Him and Bret Baier agreed to it. How many of you agree with Bret Baier and his co-host here that to keep private insurance? Some hands went up. And Bret Baier said, how many of you agree with Senator Sanders that healthcare should be a right? Practically the whole room raised their hands. And this is a room filled with people who would not typically vote for a Democrat. Okay? If Bernie Sanders could get Republicans to even see the fact that our healthcare system is fucked up, shouldn't the DNC, in theory, want Bernie to be the nominee? Someone who has already supporters who voted for Trump because they thought he'd be good for the economy or jobs, but then realized he's just another fucking bureaucrat. And then they're like, well, back to Democrats. Isn't it kind of inconceivable, really, if you think about it? All the negative shit against Bernie on the Democratic side. I'm not surprised with all the anti-Bernie stuff on the Republican side. Not all Republicans are anti-Bernie, of course. There are even some Trump supporters who are like, if Bernie becomes a nominee, Trump might be a one-term president. Because Trump even knows, and Trump, yes, he might appear stupid, and let's face it, knowledge-wise, he ain't that bright. But when it comes to politics and business, oh boy, does he play the game like chess. You think Trump right now is not watching the Democrat debate? You think right now he's not watching? Of course he's watching. He's looking at every weak point of every person on the stage right now. So he could well prepare for anyone, including Bernie. But you know what? Even Trump himself in private, and it's been leaked, but even in private, Trump's like, if Bernie becomes a nominee, it's going to be hard to beat him. Even Trump fucking knows how strong Bernie is, how strong his supporter base is. Okay? That being said, it scares me that especially when it comes to the medical debate, you have Democrats conservative and Democrats conservative who are like, it's not feasible for us to have this, but yet then say we should keep a private insurance. Look, even Bernie says, would I eliminate private insurance? No. I would have to if it need be, but I wouldn't. If you want to keep your private insurance, keep your private insurance. But healthcare is a right. It's not a privilege, it's a right. He has said that more than once. So, that's one of the main reasons why I'm voting for Bernie, is healthcare. Okay? Here's another reason why I'm voting for Bernie, and this might be selfish. I don't care if it is. Sometimes it's good to be selfish. But I think in this instance it's justified. As a millennial, as someone who was born at the tail end, or near the tail end, of Bill Clinton's first term, and I don't remember Bill Clinton's presidency, but I definitely remember George W. Bush's. But out of the presidents that I consciously can remember, George W., Obama, and now Trump. Out of those three, Bernie is the first person really ever running in my lifetime, probably the only person in my lifetime, who's upfront and honest with people. He's not a bullshitter. He's not someone who is going to pander to corporations. He's not a person who is fake and phony and going to placate to a group of people just because. You see plenty of Democrats or Republicans who run that forgot where they came from. You see plenty of Democrats or Republicans who run that became someone else when they got money, really wealthy. And they forgot their upbringing altogether. They forgot the common courtesy, the golden rule of the Bible. That is, if they were born Christian. Were raised Christian at that. But point is, though, they forgot who they are as a person. And they became someone else. They become oligarchs, billionaires, who say stuff like, you want to improve the health of the poor? Tax them higher. Tax the poor working class people higher than the rich. Because the rich, the rich, we watch what we eat. Yeah, okay. You know there are poor people who say, I'd rather go poor buying overly expensive healthy food than eat at McDonald's because it's affordable. Yeah, they exist. Point being is that I'm for Bernie Sanders for that second reason. Is that I want to tell my grandkids one day that I voted for a guy and got to live in one of the greatest times in America when someone actually fixed the country. Actually fixed our problems. So that years down the road, when my grandkids are being raised in America, that not only will they have health care, but they won't have to worry about student loan debts. That they wouldn't have to worry about getting close to the poverty line in minimum wage. And one more reason, right on the top of my head, that I support Bernie is minimum wage prices rising. I know this is not popular with a lot of Republicans and Democrats who are more conservative than liberal. I get it. I get the hesitation. I do. I totally understand that you see these big corporations that make bazonks of money, which I'm creating a new number value because that's how materialistic this country is. But here's the thing, though. I get the hesitation. I get that if you keep voting for the corporatist Democrats and the corporatist Republicans that your jobs will stay in America. I get the hesitation. I get the safety net feeling. I understand. But here's the problem with that. When you vote for these people, doesn't matter what party they're from at this point. Your jobs aren't staying here. Your jobs aren't staying here just in 2011 alone. The Hershey Chocolate Company, which had its factory set in Hershey, PA, went from Hershey, Pennsylvania down to Mexico for cheap labor. That was in 2011. Almost 10 years ago. When President Obama was in office, he proposed a Trans-Pacific Partnership. That would have allowed something like hydro, where a lot of men and women work in that factory across America, the hydro branches in this country. They would have lost their jobs for cheaper labor overseas. So in 2014, when Obama brought the bill to the floor, Bernie Sanders, you know what he said to President Obama? With all due respect, sir, I will not vote for this. And why did he not vote for it? Because he knew the negative implications of that, because he warned people about NAFTA. While I don't think Ross Perot would have agreed with Bernie Sanders on his social and economic policies, but when it came to jobs in America, Ross Perot and Bernie Sanders practically agreed with one another that NAFTA is a terrible decision. Ross Perot, who was a libertarian pretty much, said that NAFTA would be a horrible decision for the American working people. And even Ross Perot knew at the time minimum wage was like $5.25 an hour. Okay? So he knew that as a businessman, that if you implicated something like NAFTA, not only would you decrease the minimum wage of what someone was being paid at the job, but they would lose their job overseas for cheap labor, which, to Ross Perot's credit, he didn't agree with cheap labor. He thought it was slave labor. He was dead set against it. Bernie Sanders didn't agree with NAFTA either. But there was more of a reason why, though. Because Bernie Sanders knew since Reagan's administration that the infrastructure in America, the rug got pulled from it. Okay? So everything that every other president did prior to Reagan and the ones that follow, the infrastructure that was set up by FDR during the Great Depression was ripped like a Jenga block. Jobs were leaving this country for cheaper labor overseas. People got less than the minimum wage in some places, some jobs. Even though that's illegal, some of these companies found a loophole to get away with it. Point is, though, is that there's not that many American jobs left. And the ones that are being threatened by automation, but that's another video for another time. But the ones that require manual human job labor, and that's all I'm really going to be good at, because I didn't go to college. Because college is not for me. I tried. Even if it was for me, I would have a degree that would just be a piece of paper that would mean nothing. And many college students, just like everyone else, are working these jobs at McDonald's for like minimum wage. That's it. They're living paycheck to paycheck. Their degrees mean nothing. And if the college degrees mean nothing, then shouldn't minimum wage be like $15 an hour? Shouldn't minimum wage be a livable wage? If that is the job you're going to have for the majority of your life, isn't it kind of worth it to give people a livable wage where they don't have to worry about going homeless or the lights being turned off? There's more reasons why I support Bernie, but those three off the top of my head are kind of the key reasons why I support Bernie. Anyway, like I said, if you disagree with me, you can leave it in the comments who you think should win, Democrat or Republican, and why. I'm very much having a nuanced conversation, but these are my reasons why I support Bernie. Arrivederci.